I am going to read this new article that came out from Ali Breland. The Proud Boys love cancel culture now. Inside the far-right network that is working to get people fired for what they say about Charlie Kirk.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
white like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa.
I didn't want to leak this. I gave some quotes to Ali about this last night, but he informed me that the Proud Boys, when he was interviewing me for this, in order to get a quote from me, he informed me that the Proud Boys are actually actively coming after me and that they have been looking for anything and everything they can, alongside many of these other conservative groups, obviously. It's just funny because it's the Proud Boys, right? Like they did January 6th. But apparently they are looking for anything and everything they can in my background to get me deplatformed, which is really funny because like when you say the Proud Boys are coming after me, one would assume they're trying to like violently and physically apprehend me and kill me or something. No, instead of their trigger fingers, they were using their Twitter fingers. When Enrique Tario picked up the phone, the first thing he wanted me to know was that he was pushing through a 4-day hangover. This was on Monday, and he had just returned to Miami from Westfest, an annual pilgrimage to Las Vegas in which Proud Boys from around the country gather for hard drinking and general debauchery. Basically a frat party, he said. But with that out of his system, Tario, who has long been one of the far-right group's key leaders, found himself stirred by a more pressing preoccupation: all the people he wants to get fired. Over the past several days, Tario told me, has activated an extremely effective network of Proud Boys to scour the social web, find posts celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, identify the individuals involved, and persuade their employers to fire them. Oh, God, they are soy boys, dude. Such pussies. Oh, my Lord. Fed activity. In many of these groups, people celebrate over growing tallies of firings in which they refer to as scalps. He told me, it's funny because this was a tactic that was used on us from 2017 forward. We got deplatformed, debanked. He told me it sucked for us. I always said I wouldn't do it back to anybody, but since then, I've been incarcerated for something I didn't do, Tario said, referring to his conviction of seditious conspiracy for his role at the Capitol insurrection. Yeah, those are the guys that are after me, by the way. On January 6, 2021, so I'm in a different mindset now. An eye for an eye right now. In 2023, when officials announced that Tario had been sentenced to 22 years in prison, they emphasized that no organization put more boots on the ground on January 6th than the Proud Boys, who were, under Tario's direction, at the forefront of every major breach of the Capitol's defenses, leading the on-the-ground efforts to storm the seat of government. In January, Tario was released from prison as a part of Trump's blanket January 6 pardons. In recent days, Tario told me, he and the rest of the Proud Boys have been mostly focused on targeting employees in government and higher education, but his white whale is far more prominent. The left-wing influencer Hassan Piker. Tario told me that his campaign to get Piker kicked off Twitch wasn't about anything in reference to Charlie. As my colleague Spencer Kornhaber recently wrote, Piker condemned the shooting and anyone who attempted to justify it, though he has at times used his own violent rhetoric in the past. Piker was temporarily banned from Twitch earlier this year when he said people who truly oppose Medicare fraud should kill Senator Rick Scott. Still, okay, come on, Ali. I gave you the full quote. Jesus Christ. I guess, it's fine for brevity. Still, Tario seemed to sense that the post-assassination cultural climate would be friendly to an attempt to go after Piker. I was banned from Twitch, he told me, and I didn't say half the shit he did. Tario told me that he and the other Proud Boys have teamed up in a group chat with other right-wingers who all want Piker to get kicked off Twitch by running a bigger and more sustained version of the other active mass firing campaign. They have been circulating Piker's past controversial statements to companies that advertise on Twitch in an attempt to pressure the streaming platform, he told me, which, of course, is something that I worked on, or is something that I've been dealing with for the past 2 years. Once again, not exactly sure if Ali put that in the article when he asked me, but I did talk specifically about Destiny and Dan Saltman's attempts to do this exact same thing over Israel. So I've been dealing with this for the past 2 years from Ethan Klein.
I'm encouraging you guys to pressure advertisers, to pressure Amazon, to pressure Twitch.
From Destiny, from Dan Saltman, and numerous other right-wing groups that are now also involved. What the f do I do? Asmongold is another dipshit that is also engaged in this.
I've been pretty reasonable about this for a long time. I think they should ban him. I do.
And the more they attempt this and the more it doesn't happen, the more insane they get. I thought you greatly disliked The Atlantic. I like Ali Breland. He has covered me in the past. That's why I chose to give him a quote. The Atlantic is far from my favorite publication. Let's be real. Yeah. Richie Torres, Andrew Cuomo, Eric Adams, Ethan Klein, Destiny, Asmongold, Dan Saltman. What the f are ADL? What is happening? What the f is happening? Elon Musk has gotten to a point where it feels like if you're not like, I mean, fuck it, bring some goddamn Marxist-Leninists in there too, and throw them in the pile too. You know, just what a rotation of people who have decided that ideologies aside, we can all get together, shake hands, and take out the true evil in American society. The CEO of Twitch is set to be interrogated by Congress alongside other CEOs in an effort to suppress leftist speech online. Ethan Klein's H3 subreddit can't figure out if they like this. The consensus is we wanted fascist censorship, but it was only supposed to be for Hassan. You would think this moment would be a wake-up call that Ethan had been pushing an inherently fascist agenda when he screams about how dangerous, un-American, extremist, tanky leftists need to be deplatformed and silenced. But no, they think it's Hassan's fault for existing. Yeah, you got it, guys. H3, foot soldiers, you got what you wanted. Why aren't you celebrating? It doesn't make any sense. Isn't this what you wanted? What do you think was going to happen? I disagree with that. They love this. They're not conflicted. These are the few dissenters. Hassan and other radical propaganda should be banned from Twitch. However, this being a government action and not an action taken at the platform's sole discretion opens an extremely ugly precedent. Also, those Republicans won't stop with people like Hassan and use this to go after any and all people, even slightly left of MAGA. This is not a good thing. They didn't realize that when they were propping up Asmongold as an alternative, highlighting his active attacks against me. What happened? Dan was telling Lonerbox he regrets it because he didn't actually think it would ever happen, and that Destiny and you are both targeted by politicians now. Oof.
I feel like my YouTube is going to get permabanned soon because I got like broad demonetized yesterday for that I didn't even cite a video. So I don't know. I'll appeal it. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, I saw that too. What happened to all those trips to DC, lobbying Republican congresspersons for them to come after me and deplatform me, for them to go after Twitch? What happened?
I have congressional meetings set up. Okay? That's like with more than one dude. Republicans, obviously.
How many times did I say that this administration was going to inevitably do that to everyone? I didn't think the leopards would eat my face. How did this happen? Part of the reason why it's happening also is because I have to 1v99 motherfuckers on this. Okay? Every goddamn day. From all different walks of life, all different backgrounds. Like I said, from Andrew Cuomo to Eric Adams to the ADL to Jake Tapper down to the Proud Boys. You got the Proud Boys and the ADL shaking hands on this shit. And now you know who else is shaking hands on this? Nick Fuentes. You got literal neo-Nazis up in here being like, hell yeah, brother. Time for the deplatforming. McCarthyism is here. And it was championed by a lot of self-described liberals as well. Wake the up. If you're conflicted in this moment, wake up and realize who the real enemy is here, okay? Jesus Christ, I have, in spite of the unimaginable amount of resentment that has come from all of these different like self-described liberal places, have not once even shied away from openly admitting who the real problem is. It's Donald Trump and his administration, and these idiots are still holding on to petty grievances. It blows my mind. I think some of you guys are losing the plot if you're cheering this on. This will literally only hurt left-leaning and progressive political commentators while fascism, right-wing radicals will continue to dominate the airwaves. Oh my God. Oh my God. They're finally realizing it. What happened? I thought Asmongold was just like kind of MAGA.
What about Asmon? Because he's juicing hard on Trump.
But he's like pro-Trump, isn't he?
Oh my God, is he?
I wouldn't say he's...
I have to imagine, right?
I don't think he's like pro-Trump explicitly, overtly. I know people try to say that. I think he definitely leans more conservative, but I don't think he's as conservative as people try to paint him out to be.
Well, let's see.
I think I would say he's Trump-coded.
Trump's good at this, ...
I've watched his content. It's not...
That was said sarcastically.
It's not super pro-Trump. He's Trump-coded, though. Did he vote for Trump? Probably, yes.
Probably.
Yeah, probably, yes. But it's not a total glaze fest or anything like that.
It was fine, right? When you guys were hyping up every dumb Republican on the internet that wanted a crumb of clout, like that fucking sex pest lawyer guy that you guys thought was the most esteemed legal mind anyone's ever seen. What happened? What the happened? This morning we found out that after all of the endless advocacy from these the Republicans have decided to add Twitch and the Twitch CEO to the pylon in the post Charlie Kirk violent rhetoric galore for one reason and one reason only. We know what reason that is. It's because this dip went and lobbied Republican congresspersons about how Twitch has a real anti-Semitism problem when it didn't. As much as I agree with everything you're saying, all these content creators would have been covering this the whole time the Trump admin still would have done full fascism. No, dude, I know that they would have, but at the very least, they wouldn't have put the crosshairs on Twitch, for example. At least one avenue would be safe from the additional scrutiny. They redirected the attention to Twitch for their own personal ambitions, for their own personal vengeance quest. Do you not understand? Of course, the admin would inevitably come after someone like myself, but there is no reason to accelerate it, you know? There's no reason to work alongside them. These fucking idiots gave them the clips to post everywhere that the Proud Boys are now using. Dude, I'm not even mad that this is like personally targeting me. That is frustrating. But the major reason why I'm frustrated here is that this is leaning into the severe restrictions on political dissidents, an erosion of free speech. These guys understand that there is a threat here for discontent, and they do not want discontent to exist. I cannot believe it, dude. Aligning with Republican congresspersons for this? The f do you think was going to happen, dumbass? Your butt buddy is like infinitely more violent in his rhetoric towards Republicans than I am. And now he's experiencing the repercussions. Tario told me that he and the other Proud Boys have teamed up in a group chat with other right-wingers who all want to get Piker kicked off Twitch by running a bigger and more sustained version of their other active mass firing campaign. They've been circulating Piker's past controversial statements to companies that advertise in Twitch in an attempt to pressure the streaming platform, he told me. That's one more federal agent that's coming after me, Piker told me over the phone late on Tuesday night, joking about Tario's reported history as a federal informant. Tario previously told Reuters that he did not recall ever having worked undercover in this way, but today he told me that he never denied it. He added, as a matter of fact, I said it on my podcast. In May, Customs Border Protection briefly detained Piker, a natural-born U.S. citizen, when he returned to the country from an overseas trip. He did not seem particularly concerned by the Proud Boys campaign against him. Piker said he has weathered attacks from groups with a lot more institutional persuasive power than the Proud Boys. I also asked him about the comments that got him booted from Twitch earlier this year. It wasn't a call to assassination, Parker said. It was an attempt to say Rick Scott shows that Republicans don't actually care about Medicare fraud. The Proud Boys' efforts are a part of a larger campaign to punish Kirk's critics. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the truth, and I think it's because it's The Atlantic. The editorial control was placed on this article. Sorry, that 100%. I think Ali's a great journalist, but I don't see some aspects of my revelations here. The reason why I didn't seem so concerned about the Proud Boys campaign against myself is because I told him that I was dealing with the ADL on a daily basis due to my anti-Zionist advocacy. But of course, this is The Atlantic, so I suspect that they cut that part from my quotes. Anyway, the Proud Boys' efforts are part of a larger campaign to punish Kirk's critics and those who have celebrated his killing. Called him out. And hell, called their employer, Vice President J.D. Vance said on Monday while guest hosting an episode of The Charlie Kirk Show. Trump wants more, he tweeted out. Great news, America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel Show is now canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers. On fake news, NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. President DJT. I'm going to be honest, I never thought it was going to be this whack. I did not for even a brief moment assume that modern American fascism was going to be this lame. Like, I knew it was going to be awful. I knew it was going to be harmful. I knew that there was going to be a lot of horror, but I did not think that it would be conducted over petty grievances and narcissistic desires being enforced. I'll give you one example. Big Balls. I didn't think that Big Balls getting beat up by two teenagers, one teenage girl and one teenage boy at the age of 15, was going to be the testing ground for a military deployment on an American city, the Capitol. I didn't think so. It's so lame. I didn't think that the president's favorite podcaster being killed would lead to the opening up of the floodgates of the erosion of the First Amendment. He is the Horst vessel of this admin. Charlie Kirk is being presented as the Horst vessel of this administration, something that we pointed to literally the first day. We are entertaining the dumbest fascist takeover of all time. Isn't it up that even Charlie would probably disagree with this cancellation of Kimmel. I mean, yeah, he wasn't exactly the biggest fan of the First Amendment, but I think even he had the wherewithal to understand that this doesn't look good, that this is not going to be reflected on positively. Maybe some of the dumbest MAGA tyrant boomers are going to love it because they hate Jimmy Kimmel because Jimmy Kimmel made me feel bad during COVID. I hate that pussy. But like for the large majority of the public, they're either going to be like, the are you doing? Or they're going to hate it. Based on a rough tally of companies that have publicly confirmed Kirk-related firings and disciplinary action, dozens of people have lost their jobs in recent days. A pilot from American Airlines was removed from service according to the company. The operator of a Texas Roadhouse in Florida, an employee at Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers. Wow, dude, you guys are really doing it, man. What a revolution. What a revolution. Getting dudes fired from Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers? Wow. Dog, that's sick, man. You guys are so sick. Amazing. You really did it now. Many observers have pointed out the resemblance of the firing campaign to online mob circa 2020, and the entire episode has reignited debates over the difference between free speech and social censure. Tario told me that these efforts have resulted in more than 100 people being fired and counting. Meanwhile, across the right, militias and similarly styled groups have reacted to Kirk's death by turning it into a recruiting opportunity. Hours after Kirk was shot last Wednesday, Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rose said on InfoWars that he was rebuilding the Oath Keepers to do protection work. If my security team had been at that event, if they had been up there on the high point looking for potential threats, they would have saved Charlie Kirk from being shot. Didn't Stuart Rhodes literally shoot himself in the face? Isn't that the guy? That's the guy, right? What's he talking about? Who is he going to protect? He can't even protect himself. Dumbass. He claimed that he was writing a proposal. That's the funniest part about it, is that like all of these incompetent losers, all of these fascists are so insanely incompetent. Like they're hilarious. While Proud Boys still operate on the ground at physical events, they roam the streets and get into fights much less than they used to, according to data from the Armed Conflict and Location Event Data, ACLED, a nonprofit that tracks political violence. Some extremism experts have told me that the real reason Proud Boys have become mellower is because the organization has lost momentum and energy. Tario claims otherwise. The culture has shifted dramatically, he said. It's kind of like, we won. We got what we wanted. Just last month, I posed a question of why the Proud Boys had seemed absent compared with their boisterous presence throughout Trump's first term. One answer seemed to be that the second Trump administration had taken on a mission of the Proud Boys from within the federal government. Now the Proud Boys are focusing on other things, Tario said, shifting to behind-the-scenes work such as their ongoing cancellation campaign. I guess it's kind of hypocritical for us after saying, oh, free speech or whatever, he acknowledged. But the problem is the right isn't good at fighting dirty. Now they figured it out, he said, and it's working. Something Ali didn't actually put in this article, but he presented to me in quotes as well, is that, he basically does kind of mention this, but I thought it was really funny, is that Enrique Tario basically alludes to the fact that he doesn't give a shit about like whether or not I've made a statement about Charlie Kirk or not, and simply just wants me deplatformed. You can kind of tell from the article itself where they are like, we looked to see anything in reference to Charlie and we couldn't find it. So we just decided to go after his old quotes. Why are they being so blunt? This article makes them look bad. They're the Proud Boys, chatter. What the f are you talking about? They literally got clapped for doing January 6th. They were in prison. The guy, Enrique Tario, who is like now trying to do Twitter finger shit to me, is unironically a dude who was supposed to be in prison for 22 years for facilitating the January 6th insurrection. Really tarnishing the legacy of the Proud Boys, the good legacy of the Proud Boys. Didn't it come out that he was a Fed? Yes, he was. He was an FBI informant. And one might assume he still is, which is ironic because I made that joke. I said, that's one more federal agent that's coming after me. Piker told me over the phone late Tuesday night, joking about Tario's reported history as a federal informant. And he didn't even stand back from that. He was like, yep,